Jahi tells Drudge that the Dark Lord has returned, and although Drudge is overjoyed, she is surprised to see Kyoyuko, who calls Jahi her best friend. Drudge is offended that a mere human like Kyoyuko has gotten close to Jahi, and an angry Drudge threatens to destroy Kyoyuko. Kyoyuko and Drudge start to argue that they are the better friend for Jahi, but Jahi gets sick of their garbage when they start to say untrue things about her. The two finally decide that whoever collects the most magic crystals for Jahi will be considered the best underling. They each transform into their alter egos and leave Jahi behind. At first, Jahi is happy they will collect crystals for her, but gets stuck with the food bill. So while Drudge and Kyoyuko are out collecting magic crystals around town, Jahi is stuck washing dishes to pay for their enormous meal. Annoyed that her plans to defeat Jahi have always been foiled, Salva sets a trap for Jahi on her normal walk home after analyzing her habits. But when Salva sees Kyoyuko following Jahi, she becomes worried that the human girl will get caught in the trap. And just as she fears, an overly curious Kyoyuko gets caught in Salva's chomper trap. Jahi ignores Kyoyuko, and Salva tries to save the trapped girl, only to discover the human is easily able to beat the trap. The next day, Salva improves her trap, but only catches Kyoyuko again the next day, who seems to be faking being trapped in Salva's chomper. Finally, Salva develops her most powerful version of her trap, but Jahi and Kyoyuko easily move around the trap this time around. To see if there is something wrong with her trap, Salva traps herself painfully and ends up defeating herself. The Dark Lord has been eating everything in Kyoyuko's apartment, and the magical girl is shocked when a hungry Dark Lord hides herself in her book bag and accidentally gets taken to school. Kyoyuko has spent a lot of money to take care of the Dark Lord, and later finds out that the Dark Lord was actually trying to give Kyoyuko her lunch, which she left at home. And later at lunch, Kyoyuko thinks of the Dark Lord and Jahi fondly, until she discovers that the Dark Lord had already eaten her lunch. Later, Jahi and Kyoyuko meet to go to work together, and Kyoyuko asks Jahi about the Dark Lord. Jahi explains that the Dark Lord had a large appetite, and the demons feared and revered her, so they offered sacrifices of food to the Dark Lord, and eventually Jahi gathered a large kingdom of demons to serve her. And Kyoyuko realizes that the Dark Lord is really just a lazy girl who eats a lot of food. But when they walk to work, a mysterious being tries to attack Kyoyuko and is only stopped by the Dark Lord, who watches them from afar. Drudge wonders if Jahi would like to wear other clothes, and she gets inspired to make her own successful fashion brand. The highly successful Drudge decides to eat at a pub for dinner and runs into Jahi and Kyoyuko working together at the pub mouth. Drudge is furious that Kyoyuko gets to be co-workers with Jahi, but she doesn't want to cause trouble, so she keeps quiet. She watches as the clumsy Kyoyuko keeps messing up, and looks fondly as Jahi berates the human girl. However, Drudge is afraid that her place as the abused underling is being replaced by Kyoyuko, and misunderstanding the situation, she tries to encourage Jahi to keep restoring the demon realm. Jahi, who has been working hard trying to restore the dark realm, has been unable to sleep very well and feels that her futon may need to be replaced for something better. She decides to reward herself and goes mattress shopping. Finding beds so comfortable, she falls asleep in the store. She buys their most luxurious futon, but landlady arrives and doesn't believe that it is highly quality, so she tries to test it. But landlady finds the bed so comfortable she falls asleep, and an angry Jahi tries to remove her but falls asleep as well. Boss later arrives to tell Jahi that she needs to move out for a few days while the building is repaired, and that Jahi can stay with her and landlady temporarily. But while she is with them, they just want to have Jahi wear different kid outfits, and Jahi wonders if spending time in the human world is making her more childlike. She later goes to sleep with them, but gets beat up at night because boss keeps kicking her while staying asleep. And after a traumatizing night getting beat up, Jahi doesn't get any sleep. Salva finds herself surrounded by a white light one day, and suddenly finds herself more powerful as she swears to finally destroy Jahi. Salva finally confronts Jahi head-on, but realizes that Jahi has no idea who she is, except that she cheered Salva up one time, and Salva realizes that kid Jahi was actually adult Jahi. Salva tries her hardest to make Jahi remember who she is, but Jahi still has no idea who she is, promising to defeat her and become the second in command to the Dark Lord. Salva summons a magical sword using the power of light, and Jahi realizes that Salva is using the same magic as the magical girl. Salva stabs Jahi through the chest, but as she keeps attacking her, they realize that the sword is actually only causes healing. Salva starts sobbing because her new power is pathetic. And since Jahi feels sorry for her, she pretends that since coming to the human realm, Jahi has become even stronger. A frightened Salva retreats and the white light fades away, but at least Jahi knows her name now. One day, Jahi asks Kokoro to play with her, but the other girl ignores her. An upset goes to landlady for help, and landlady asks if Jahi may have upset Kokoro in some way. Jahi later meets Kokoro and tries to apologize to her friend, But it turns out Kokoro was avoiding her because she had a bad tooth and could not talk. And Jahi is thankful that Kokoro didn't hate her. She plays with Kokoro, but when she goes to work later, landlady and boss tell her that a ghostly voice seems to be bothering the patrons of the pub, and Jahi wonders if it's related to the white light that she saw with Salva. A frightened Jahi can't sleep that night because of rumors of the ghost, and when she hears strange noises in her apartment, she runs away. She is then chased by the white light, which asks Jahi if she wants power, but Jahi refuses, and the light attacks and Jahi is saved by Drudge, and the two prepare to fight against the white light. Drudge remembers in the past she was avoided by the other demons because her power was that she could control the hearts of others, but Jahi gave her a chance and she became indebted to the cat demon. Drudge and Jahi prepare to fight the white light after learning many lessons in the human world, but it ends up retreating. The next day Jahi is working and she cooks food for the pub for the first time. And when she gets complimented for her food, she thinks about opening her own restaurant and becoming rich. Jahi tries to cook for landlady to test out her recipes. But after landlady leaves, Jahi realizes that she would miss boss if she quit the restaurant, and she decides her food isn't as good as she thought. Jahi later finds boss who wants to support her in making a restaurant. But the white light arrives and stabs boss, who becomes a magical girl. Kyoyuko arrives and they determine the white light was responsible for making Kyoyuko also a magical girl. The light demands boss take their magic crystals, but boss refuses because she doesn't like stealing. The light then turns into a copy of the Dark Lord, and the two powerful beings become huge and fight over the city. Jahi looks to boss for her new power, but the boss can only make flowers, so Jahi is forced to intervene. And when Jahi sees the pub getting destroyed, she becomes angry and calls her allies to help. Jahi then gets in between the two powerful lords and has to be rescued by Kyoyuko. The white girl, whose name is Sue, then explains that she is the little sister of the Dark Lord, and she just wants the Dark Lord to pay attention to her because the Dark Lord had become a shut-in, and that's why she destroyed the demon realm. Jahi wakes up and angrily demands an apology for getting hurt so badly over a sibling fight. Jahi then apologizes to boss for the wrecked pub, but boss tells her that they can all rebuild the pub together, and she thanks Jahi for stepping in to prevent further damage. Drudge finally arrives too late to help as the battle is over. The group repair the pub and Sue formally apologizes to them by helping to rebuild the destroyed restaurant. One day, landlady takes Jahi to the pub, and they see boss and Kyoyuko celebrating Jahi attempting to make her own store. Jahi has fond memories of working at the pub now, so she is now a little uncertain about starting her own place. But an embarrassed Jahi doesn't admit that she will miss working with the boss and serving the bar's patrons. Boss can tell that Jahi is feeling sad, so she encourages Jahi and lets Jahi order anything she wants from the menu. Drudge arrives after doing location scouting for Jahi's new restaurant, and after intense research has found a place in a skyscraper with the best chefs. But Jahi quickly realizes that to make her own restaurant would be too expensive, so she assigns the responsibility of running the restaurant to Drudge, which would allow Jahi to continue to work for boss at the pub. And boss is overjoyed Jahi will continue to stay with them. Meanwhile, Drudge is able to make Jahi's restaurant a huge success. Jahi later goes to the shopping district and meets Kokoro, who tells her that the city is holding a festival. Kokoro tells Jahi about the shrine carrying competition, and Jahi thinks about joining when she overhears that kids can earn prizes for taking part in the shrine carrying. Jahi tells Kokoro she's changed her mind, but when she tries to join, they are confronted by two boys who say they will win the competition and who try to bully Jahi. Kokoro defends Jahi, and out of anger Jahi swears revenge and joins the competition. In her small size, Jahi struggles to carry the shrine while boss and landlady watch the competition. And finally, at the end of the competition, the festival staff give Jahi the prize for being the most enthusiastic shrine carrier, and the two boys apologize for their behavior. But Jahi is disappointed when the prize turns out to be a bunch of kids' toys. Meanwhile, while stalking Jahi at the festival, Salva runs into boss, who remembers Salva and volunteers the girl to join the shrine carrying competition. And Salva fondly remembers how kind boss was to her, and Salva has a lot of fun carrying the shrine enthusiastically. Landlady arrives and Salva becomes scared because she remembered how harsh landlady was. But before she can run away, the sisters volunteer her to help drum for the festival. And Salva finds out that landlady is only harsh to Jahi. Landlady helps her learn to drum for the festival, and Salva finds herself enjoying it very much as the festival give her food for helping them. Salva then participates in the festival parade and has so much fun, she's starting to completely forget about Jahi, until she runs into Jahi after Jahi had won prizes from her competition. And while Jahi struggles to remember Salva's name, Salva is embarrassed that Jahi has seen her in a ridiculous outfit. At the end of the festival, Kokoro leads Jahi outside to enjoy the view, and the two are joined by the rest of Jahi's friends at the end of the festival as they all watch fireworks together. and Jahi has forgotten about restoring the demon realm. And this is all for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.